Welcome to Behind the Live podcast, the show that takes you backstage to uncover the real stories and strategies that power your favorite creators, entrepreneurs, and leaders. No filters, just honest, real talk. Now, let's get into it.
Welcome to Behind the Live, and thank you for joining us for our very first episode. I'm Alan, your co-host. Today, if you're passionate about history, you're in for a treat. Brian and I sat down with Daddy History, a creator, a military historian driven by pure passion. His journey has taken him across the globe, walking in places where history unfolded, bringing those moments back to life, and helping people truly understand the stories behind them. So, if you're ready to explore, let's kick it off with Daddy History. I'm scrolling through your TikTok here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, that's kind of a loaded question, but I am Daddy History. Name's Nick. I am a military historian, kind of by choice, not by profession. The last 15 years, I've been studying military history from antiquity to the present across all cultures and time frames. It's just a tremendous passion of mine, and I'm blessed to be able to travel around the world. So I go to these places and I touch that history and I become a part of it as best I can. And it dawned on me in the last year or so that I can share this with people and, maybe find the few that are interested in it. And it turns out it's quite a few. So I decided to kind of create this Daddy History persona and make history more fun without losing the poignancy of it all, and to try to connect it to present day as much as possible, and then just create a place for discourse and communication and to answer questions as best I can about the things that I do know about, and pass that on to as many people as I can.
I'm a huge history buff to begin with. I've seen your lives. I've watched your lives. Some of the stuff I can't relate to, but that's okay because other people can. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We all have our genres, and you have such a wide spectrum of knowledge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you sit there, if you could write a book, how long would it be? How many pages would it be? You know what I mean?
It would be a lot. I would definitely need someone to corral me in because
But to have that kind of knowledge and stuff is critical because, again, it is about that free thinking, and it's a passion. It's a passion of learning history. It's a passion of moving, and you're using TikTok, you're using Facebook, you're using those mediums, and you've got the lingo, you've got you've got the hat, you've got the catchphrase, which will draw and attract people in and hook them. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that way you can put knowledge in their brain, and they can
That's
put
the
down
hope.
the Cheetos. They can put down the chat GTP and think.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And just have conversation about it. You know what I mean? It's because I think the best kind of thought comes from intercourse, like dialectical intercourse. It's being challenged about an idea and rethinking it, and then rephrasing and coming back with new data, and just having that back and forth. I mean, that is really, it's nutritious for the brain to do that.
Oh yes,
So
yes.
even what I'm offering, in my lives, I really try to get them to ask me questions and talk and challenge me, and all of these things, because that's where I think it actually happens, right? Just hearing me talk about, the invasion of Panama, that's just raw data. That's just information. But if you don't turn that into discourse, it never becomes knowledge, and it never becomes something you can action. So I try to do that as well
hmm
in my reels, because I see the value in that.
And that's one thing too, because it is also a hone to sharpen your own skills if you're challenged. If you are just
Totally.
dictating stuff, that's all this is. This is boring. But have that interaction point with your group, with your audience, that inspires them, number one, to think for themselves, to challenge your thought because they disagree with what you say, but then they have to have an articulable format to have a reason to have their own thought, to articulate it well enough for everyone to understand. And again, you have that ability with them to educate or be educated.
Totally.
You know?
And and that's, I try to be very, transparent about that too. They ask a question, I don't have the answer. I don't know. I'll look it up. I'll figure it out. But I've been asked plenty of questions where I'm like, Fuck, I don't know. And then I
Hmm.
have to dig into it because that's my brain will not allow for something to be unknown. So I have to dig into it, and that's good for me. And that
Yeah.
helps me stay even keel and be able to objectively talk about this stuff when I'm challenged and when we have these conversations. But I've been doing this for the better part of 15 years, all this studying, and I realized that I wanted to focus on the full spectrum. I wanted from antiquity to the present. I want to cover it all different, you know, countries and time frames and everything like that. And I'm really blessed to be able to travel for my work. So when I do, I try to bring that into these as well when I go to Africa and South Asia and East Asia and stuff. So it's because it's not just an American thing. This is a human conversation, and I want to bring it to as many people as I can. And I think to the point of the struggles of a content creator that doesn't have 10 million followers. Um, there's a cost to that. I mean, it takes time and it takes energy, and this is not my day job. This is a side hustle that I do, and I'm grateful every time I get $3 out of a live or whatever. But that's not paying for the gas to get up to Northern
Yeah.
California when I want to do a video. So there is a cost to this, but because I'm passionate, it drives me through it. Um, but it does take time and energy for sure.
Yeah.
And that's so. Where do you normally find your inspiration for your content? I mean, going along that stream, where do you find that thing that's going to inspire you to have a conversation? Where do you develop that inspiration for that next reel, that next live, that next point?
That's a good question. So, I really try to focus on wherever I am in the world. I go back east a lot. So, if I'm there, if I'm in California, if I'm around the world, I'd like to take us all the way back. And I want to start from the furthest back that I can go and start to bring it to the forefront. A lot of people know about World War II. A lot of people know about Vietnam. Not many people know about the native Wapos in Northern California and how they were totally eviscerated by Fremont, where there's a city aptly named after him. He was a senator. He ran for president, and he eviscerated an entire, group of people. Not even in California. That's not something we know about. So I want to,
Mm.
I want to try to balance both. And then in the lives, what I've realized is people are just drawn to the fire, I think. So I just pick something. I always try to make it relevant to the day. So I do like a battle of the day kind of thing. And I've realized that whether it's in the medieval era in England, or if we're talking about the rise of the Islamic caliphates in the 7th century, or if we're going all the way back to Rome, people just come to that fire to get information, to be informed and ask questions. And why is that, why this is the way it is? Or like one of the most profound things that's come out of my recent lives is the pronunciation of Julius Caesar is very American, very English. The way that it's actually pronounced is Julius Kaiser,
Oh.
and that's where
Hmm.
Czar comes from. That's where Kaiser Wilhelm comes from. The concept of a ruler tying itself back to Julius Caesar crosses generations, timelines, and
Yes.
millennia, right?
Yes.
So we lose that a little bit as etymology, evolves. But when you just go back to that one simple little point, people are like, "Holy shit, that just blew my mind!" And it's like,
It
and
just
that's
did,
what
by the
it's
way.
about,
Yeah. So it worked.
right? Yeah, and it
Yeah.
goes even deeper, right? So I'll try to do this as fast as possible, but Caesar dies, you move forward. That becomes a term in the Roman Empire
Hmm.
for ruler or co-ruler. So you sometimes have an emperor with a co-ruling Caesar. And that's how it works. You move into the Byzantine Empire, they still
Right.
consider themselves the Roman
Let's see.
Empire.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
see that very often. Well, when the Byzantine Empire collapsed, and the survivors moved up to Moscow, what do you suddenly get in Moscow? You get czars.
Yes.
So this concept goes, and then that bleeds into Germany, and you get the
Right.
Kaiser. So that
Hmm.
term can go all the way back to 40 BC when Julius Caesar was about to put the crown on his head. So
Wow.
exactly. And that's there's military things tied in, but that's just a good example of people wanting information. They want to feed that part of them. And I just realized, oh, it doesn't matter what time frame I'm in because it's all connected. And if as
Yes,
long as I
yes.
can make those connections, people just they're like baby birds. And I'm just, you know.
Well, that's interesting points too, because again, we're kind of rolling into that. You kind of answered into the next questionary points. Is how do you're interacting and engaging with your audience, but how do you always keep your content fresh? How do you keep that engagement going? And then kind of what you said is again, people are hungry, people are thirsty for that next point of content, and again, it's just a matter of keep feeding them the truth, objective opinions, and that's one key. Now, with that same strategy, do you think that helps you grow your audience?
I think it has. I think that some of the primary things that I would tell someone who wants to do this is remain humble. If you're doing something educational, if you don't know, that's fine. Nobody, at the end of the day, nobody cares. Just if you want to know, figure it out and then let them know. But don't fabricate. Don't pull things up. If you're going to use conjecture, tell them it's conjecture
Hmm.
because then they feel like they can trust you. You're giving them objective data. And that's what they've come to the fire for, right? There's enough subjective, bloviating going on that I think just being in the presence of someone that is like, I don't know, but this is what I do know.
Hmm.
It's a bit refreshing. So that would be the first thing I would say. And then I think, the way that I do it is especially with my lives, is I pick something, I let them know, hey, I let it build up, to a handful of people, and I start getting into it. I pause throughout to let some discourse happen and have conversations. I allow the sidebar. I get distracted. I have something in front of me to help me get back to where I am. So
Right,
I,
right,
I
right.
you know, so that I think gives them the sense that like I can engage, but oh wait, yeah, no, he's going to continue, and now I want to know. And people in my life are like, all right, guys, that's enough. Let's get back to it. I want to know what happens. And it's
Hmm.
like, okay, cool. So they're feeding it. But after I'm done telling the story, I open it up and I go,
Right.
guys, ask me questions. It doesn't have to be about this. It can be about any part of history. And they're, oh, well, tell me about the Cold War. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. And, well, this is what I can tell you. And that again, it's like this soft place to explore and feed that part of us that I think has been really dulled out by the group seven and the dancing,
Right.
all of this stuff.
Mind
I think it
numbingness, shall we say?
and it's like a plant getting fresh water after a drought. I've just noticed that people are really, really interested. And I even have somehow I've gotten onto the Latin American algorithm. I have tons of people
Right.
from Latin America. It's amazing. And they sit there and they're like, I can only understand a little bit, but I'm going to stay on because I want to keep learning. I want to hear what you have to say. And so I'll speak slower and I'll let them ask questions. And I realize like this is missing. This is something that's missing. So I think that, you know, if people allow for that engagement and make it more about that community, that sense of community,
Hmm.
that is what actually will bring people to the fire and expand it. It's a slow thing, right? It's definitely a slow thing, but I have gone from, geez, 2 months ago when I first started doing lives, 5 people, 10 people. I remember hitting the double digits and I was like, oh yeah.
Right, right.
And Thursday night last week, I was almost at 300 viewers.
Wow.
Wow,
I was like, and I
congratulations on
had
that.
That's
no
awesome.
idea how that happened, right? But
Right.
people came to the fire, and that's, I think, a part of it. I think it's just creating this place for community and just turning off the heat a little bit and just being a place to ask questions and learn and have some fun and joke about this kind of stuff and then get poignant where you need to and remind people that yeah, this is important stuff, but for the next hour we can just kind of we can be neighbors again, you know.
And that's something that's dying off. I will say that for sure. But again, TikTok is such, and other multimedia platforms and other streaming services, they are that key thing to bring us all together and have that neighbor that's 5 hours away from you, 10 hours away from you, 1,000 miles away from you, but still your neighbor inside of your context, inside of your live. Now, when you
Yep.
connect with your audience and stuff, whether it's during like a live or, do you prefer like the live comments? Do you prefer like, you posting videos and then you're able to see their questions, their points? How do you like to engage with those audience points in that manner?
Good question.
What do you prefer, I would say? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think that I was a diplomat, so I liked the live interaction,
Mhm.
on the spot questions, um, being very human and laughing through some things, making some human mistakes, and just building rapport with people in real time. I think if I had to pick, I prefer that. It's a bit more challenging, and I've noticed, as the viewership grows, I like to answer all the questions. I like to engage with everybody, as they ask things, and it's like, oh man, I got to scroll back up, and then it's like, oh, it zipped in. I'm like, "Ah,
Yeah,
I got to do it again. Sorry, guys. So there's a
gets
challenge there for
difficult.
sure, but
Right,
I
right.
do I do like it. Yeah,
Now we know it's the internet, so you're talking about the lives and everything. How do you deal with like the negative and the trolls and things like that?
it's a good question. So when it was really small, 20 people or something like that, if it came in and it was just nonstop, you get rid of them, right? You either block them out or you mute them. Um, I- if it's something really inflammatory, I'll say something about it. Say, hey, that shit doesn't belong in my life, and I leave it at that. Um, as it's grown, I've had someone I met through TikTok actually offer to be a moderator, and that just frees you up so much to continue engaging, and you just set the standard. You have a conversation with the moderator. Hey, this is what I want to allow. This is what is just not okay. And the fact that people are willing to do that is just amazing. She's just fantastic. So that's how I've dealt with it. But I don't. The number one thing you don't do is feed the fire. You just say,
Yeah.
no, this isn't the place for that crap. And then that's it. You don't give them any ammunition to be louder than they already are.
So speaking of moderators and stuff, and yeah, that is always a wonderful thing for live broadcasting because again, they're able to kind of watch your back. What would you say? I mean, how do you pick the right person? You personally, how do you like, wow, I like you. You're gonna be, you have my back. How do you judge that? How do you find that person?
It's a really good question, too. This one kind of just happened. I don't know. It was like um,
All the bells
serendipitous
click,
in a
all the
way.
gears work together, it all just happened.
Yeah. I came across her page and I reached out and, just banter back and forth, liking each other's stuff. And she jumped in and joined my lives. And she kind of just took it upon herself to help me in one of my lives. And then she reached out through a DM and she's like, you really need a moderator. And like, as you can see, like there's a lot of things that could help you pin stuff and do this, that, and the other. And I was like, well, I mean, you did a great job. And she was like, yeah, I'd be willing to do that for you. Can't be there all the time, but the times that I can, I'd be happy to do it. And we just clicked. She's just a great person. I think she understands what I'm trying to do in my lives and what I don't need in there and all of that. So mine was serendipitous, but that's the kind of thing I think you want to look for is just common sense of what are we trying to accomplish through this live and how do we quiet out the extraneous stuff that's going to detract from what I'm trying to accomplish.
Hmm. Well, you are on your up. You're on your way up to the great mark. As you said, you started out with a few people. Now you're moving into your triple digits, which again is a huge ordeal. Again, scroll
Definitely.
through lives all the time. 10, 20 people is your average. 50 people, you are a mega star, and now you're at your 300 level. The next one, of course, is your quadruple, your four-level digits.
Woo.
And that'll be a big deal. Now you'll be famous and getting brand deals. But when you were dealing with those 2 people crowds and those 5 people crowds, and sometimes you look at your counter and you have 0 people. What was your motivation during those slow times, during those hard periods of time, to really just keep pushing you to get to the level you're at now? And what drives you now to go to the next stage, the next level of your journey through social media?
I think it's, again, it kind of going way back to the beginning of this is trying to remain humble through it all. Um, there's so many things, and maybe this comes with age and experience too, but there's so many things I've experienced in life where you want immediate results. And I think a lot of our society is like that. We want instantaneous things. And when it
Hmm.
comes to the things that require dedication and perseverance and all of these qualities that I think we've kind of lost as a society in a lot of ways, it can be
Yes.
disheartening. But the reality is that I am not inherently, uh, just because I am who I am and I know what I know doesn't mean that overnight I'm just going to be some celebrity that people want to look at. I have to earn things. I have to, if I want something, I have to persevere. You've mentioned Edison a few times. The guy failed more than he succeeded, but it
Hmm.
was getting up and retrying and redoing and just staying the course. And when you get the 2 people that come in and they sit there and they're like, all right, what's this about? You don't go, oh God, it's just you two. Like you go, awesome, cool. I'm going to talk to you two right now, and it's going to be a great live. We're going to have a blast. And you enjoy every step of the way, and that makes the 300s feel great. But the reality is tomorrow I may have 25.
Hmm.
I have to be okay with both if I want to continue to do this, right? And again, I think that because this is a passion, it makes it easier, right? I'm not here to become a millionaire. If I did, great. But
We're not going to turn it
I
away.
right. But I'm here because I believe in what I'm doing. I love this. I do this anyway. And that's ultimately why I started this, is because I found myself in these places and I'm like, I got nobody to tell this stuff to. So like I might as well do this because I do it anyway. I'm gonna be in these
Right.
places. I'm gonna do this learning myself. So if I can profess it and make connections and help people along the way, then great. So that I think too. I think the passion, the humility, enjoying, and I think you hear this a lot from celebrities, is enjoy it while it's up at the top, but enjoy it when you're at the bottom too, because you're never going to be at the top forever. So
Right.
learn to enjoy it when you have the 2 followers, because if you got 10,000 followers, that's amazing. Congratulations, and you've earned it. But there may be a day where you're back down to 2. And if you only learn to enjoy the top, you're going to have a real hard time at the bottom.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
never forget where it starts and enjoy those moments. When you have 2 people, treat it like it's 10,000.
And
And
you raise a very good point there, which kind of goes back to keeping everything engaging and being humble with the audience that you have and you've been blessed with, shall we say, whether it is the
yeah,
2 people or 500. But ultimately, always remember it's that one person to connect with that can bring you 2 people. Then you connect with two, then it's four, then it's four, then it's five, then it's five, then it's 50, then it's 50, then it's 100. But if you keep that mentality, which so many creators don't have because they want the instantaneous, I learned my TikTok dance. I have my 5 minute lives. I battle 2 people. Why am I not a millionaire? Why am I not famous? But it's the passion that you need to have as a creator, and that's one thing too. What, in your opinion, what's that one thing people always get wrong about a creator? You are a content creator with a great audience. What is that misconception that new creators are going to have that they're just always wrong about?
oof, that's a really good question.
It's an opinionated base. Like, you keep driving forward with passion, with
Hmm.
the humbleness, realizing where you started from, and it's a growth. It is a
Yeah,
point. Again, if you want to be a professional baseball player, you're not it day one, unless you
no,
have some kind of great natural talent. But even that needs to be worked on and honed and worked with through the 2 people, the 5 people, the 100 people. And that's where bringing that kind of question of what is that, always that misconception that you think people have as a creator, what's that misconception they always have about this industry, about this new thing we call TikTok?
Yeah. It's a really, really good question. And I think that there's several answers here, but I think
Hmm.
primarily there's a few things is how much work goes into this. It's, editing and making sure that, you're staying within guidelines and you're putting out the right content, you're using the right hashtags, you're engaging. Like that's where I didn't realize a lot of this is based on the algorithm. If you
Hmm.
just put stuff out there and you think it's going to happen, that ain't it. You got
No.
to go out and engage with people. You got to do the lives. You got to like people's stuff, talk to them. They're human beings. Go out and do that thing, and then TikTok will recognize, okay, this is a human being. It's not a bot. We're going to start to share out their stuff, see how people receive it, and that's how it begins. So you have to have patience. You have to have this tactical patience and the perseverance to do the work to make the content great so that when you do hit it, it's like, wow, this content's fantastic and we never want to stop watching it. But again, I think, having the realization that, the person you're following with 10 million followers and everything has hundreds of thousands of views and all of these things, that's over the course of a long time. Like, you're gonna have I've had one go viral and it was fantastic and it was hard to keep up and it was all these things. And then, the next week I was back down to 400 views. And
Hmm.
you have to be comfortable with that roller coaster and continue to put in the work necessary if you want it to yield results. And I think it's like any job. You got to take the good with the bad, and you got to be willing to put in hard work. It's nothing, even TikTok, it's not going to come easy.
No, it never does. And you're absolutely right. I mean, getting back into that, have you, you said you had you had a video blow up. Have you seen a lot as you put in the dedication, through the slow times, you put in the dedication, you put in the passion. What have you seen coming back from TikTok and the FYP page? Have you seen those people like, yeah, I was just scrolling by and I saw you and you're amazing, or your audience coming in? How do you see those?
Yeah,
Were you
I
excited
think,
when you saw people talking like, yeah, I was just scrolling by and I saw you? Was that like that great buzz for the night when you magically just saw 50 people just show up automatically at just random point in time?
yeah, it definitely, it's a dopamine dump, man. You wake up and you've had 2,000 more views and 100 comments and you're trying to keep up with it. You're like, oh my God. And it is things like, wow, you popped up on my FYP page and one of my friends texted me and like, are you going viral? Because your stuff is all over my FYP. It's like, this is great. So it feels really cool. And because of the type of content I put out, it generates a lot of good conversation. And there's people from native tribes in California that have found my stuff and said, "Thank you for telling this story." I
Oh,
sit on the
wow.
board of this tribal thing, and we're fighting California to, you
Wow.
know, to change the narrative about what happened here, and it's really difficult. So, thank you for telling the objective story of this whole thing. And it's like, shit, that's it, and
Yeah.
that makes the 200 views the next week. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm just going to keep doing this because that's what it's about. If I can hit it every 9 months, then awesome.
And to have that kind of, humbleness, I would say that would humble me dramatically, to have that kind of statement coming forth from me telling stories and sharing knowledge and having interactions, to have that kind of an impact. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I see the point of that would, yeah, that would take my breath away, honestly, to have that, you
Yeah.
know,
It
out
keeps
of
you
the blue,
grounded.
random. You never know about that's not your intention, but your statements, your live, the time you've invested has had a positive input of such magnitude. You know what I mean? To someone you've
Yep.
never met, you've never seen. And yeah, that's wow. That's Yeah, that's amazing. that
Yeah,
that
it
really
was
is.
it was such a cool moment, and it's and it really is like, yeah, that's why I'm doing this. It's to know that you can have an impact on something like TikTok is it's a great feeling, and it's also there's a sense of responsibility there. I need to make sure that I am being objective and that I am telling these stories to the best of my ability based on the data and the research that I can do. But I need to keep doing it. I need to keep
Mhm.
telling these stories because it's resonating, and every ripple continues, right? And then they get to tell somebody, you know what? There's people telling the story about our people in the
Right,
right context.
right, right.
And and it's but also like I think an American can sit there and go, I'm not shaming the Americans that did it necessarily. I'm just saying the context of this situation is this is what one side did, this is how the other side handled it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can come to your own conclusions about the personalities and all that stuff, but this is the data. And I think it just helps kind of create that balance, and to get that feedback is just so powerful, and it's so moving, and it's humbling, and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna keep doing this, and it's not about the views and all of that. I want to make money just like anybody else, where it's hard times, um,
Yeah.
but it gave me the fire to keep doing this.
So, in your experience, like, what mindset really makes a difference for someone trying to grow as a creator? What
Ah,
mindset really needs to be set forth to make a difference? For that person that is stuck in that 20 view level, that 10 view level. What kind of mindset made you succeed, helped you succeed? That was, I mean, what you just said was a wonderful story because that really drives and gives you motivation when you have those positive feedback points. When you have those people you've made that impact to, of course, that's a wonderful thing. But like, as someone stuck in the 20s and the teens and the fives or the ones, what kind of mindset really makes a difference for someone really trying to grow as a creator base? Like you're succeeding. The mindset
right.
you have is a successful point because of the engagement you have, because of the hard work and diligence. But is there like a mindset you really should have in growth pattern? Because again, you are kind of like the perfect demographic. You started very small, very simple. You did what you know, and you have a passion about the history that you know about, and you're succeeding with that. The tricks of the
Right.
trade, shall we say. What have you found along your journey? What mindset is causing that success for you as people try to grow and move forward in their own TikTok careers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's being okay with not having all the answers. I didn't even have TikTok until like January of this year. So
Oh wow,
I had
you're
no
fresh.
idea. And I still, like, I joke about it in my lives. I'm like, guys, I don't even know what this means. Like, there's some things that I'm still learning, right? But
Right.
what I realized is, I was trapped in that like 200, 300 jail for a while. And I met another content creator, and they said, I was lamenting a little bit, and they were like, "Oh, you need to go find these lives and engage, and
Hmm.
and go follow people, and they're going to follow you back, and then they're going to spread the word. Just stay on it, stay on it, stay." And she gave me a lot of advice, and it's just being open to that, and realizing you're not going to know everything, and then being flexible. What we're doing today may not be what works tomorrow. Like, that's the
Very
thing with
true.
social media and technology. Just be flexible, be humble, um, be creative, but be open. Go reach out to people, talk to people, like, come together and let them help you. Like, that's where the humility comes, is like, I don't have the answer. How do I get to 400, 500 viewers? How do I, oh, I need to go live. Oh, I need to follow people when they're live, and I need to
Hmm.
talk, not just watch. I need to engage. So that's what I would say to a new content creator is, and don't stop, don't quit, don't, even if it does have this weight of like, I'm not doing it, push through that feeling and just keep going, keep driving, keep doing it. It's gonna work out. Stay flexible, stay creative, talk to people. You're gonna hit your niche. You're gonna figure it out. Don't give up. That's the Edison thing. Don't give up.
And then that's one point, kind of moving a little bit within that answer. It's your passion. You need to find what you're passionate about and work off of that. You have a passion about sharing history and sharing your knowledge. Other people might have a passion of art. Other people might have a passion of music. Other people might have a passion of cooking. Some people have passion of fashion. Say that 3 times fast. So, some people have that passion of dance and so on and so forth. Where, as you say, you find your niche, you find your positioning, but it's about doing what you love and sharing that with others. And then there is that connection, there is that motivation because you're seeing the reflection back at you instantaneously, shall we say, with viewers and contents and gifts and so on and so forth. And again, it's social media. That was a very good point you raised. It's social media. Be social on it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Talk to one another. And I do that in my life. I'm like, guys, talk to each other, get to know each other, go follow each other. It's like this is not only about me. Like, let's build a community here. Let's talk about stuff. Let's get to know each other. And um yeah, I think it's the perseverance, and I think it is tough. It's hard to um see those numbers and be like, man, but I think that the passion is that's something that we, I think, inherently can feel and see in somebody. When they're passionate about something, you know it. And it brings you in. You're like, okay, I want to share in that a little bit. If you're like, oh, I'm just doing this to make money, it's like, well, my interest drops dramatically if that's
Mhm.
the case. If
Yeah,
you're there because you want to build community, you're passionate about, you love what you do, like that, I think makes a lot of the difference. People know that, they feel that, and it makes them want, we want those kind of people in our lives. So I think that's what gets people to hit the plus button and make them follow you.
good tips. Good tips. I like that output. I like that outcome of what you said there. And that's one key thing too, where you can make a lot of money here on social media through sponsorships, through the battles that here on TikTok. And again, some people are all about the battles. Some people are all about
Right.
that, and they have a following engaging that. And again, some other people are here for multiple reasons. But yeah, it's about the passion. It's about the engagement. But on that
Right.
one thing, as people engage with you over time and they're watching this, what is that one thing? You know, what is that one thing about you specifically that people just may be so surprised? They wouldn't have figured to learn about you. You got the 12th toe, you got the 11th toe. What was that one little thing that, just as people be like, I would have never thought that.
Yeah, that's a really good question too.
I'll make you
I
think
think
for a
it
minute.
yeah, it makes me think for sure. I've been really blessed in my life. I've lived kind of a few lives, and I think a lot of people see me and they're like, military. I'm like, yeah, but when I say, oh, but I have 2 master's degrees, and I was a diplomat, and I work
Wow.
at
Uh-huh.
Stanford, and
Hmm.
right, and people are like, oh, what?
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Like,
So it
like
worked.
when I was in the army, I was what's called route clearance. So we would go out and we would find explosives and we would take care of them. So I know
Hmm.
how to deal with explosives, but I'm also an oil painter and a fly fisherman. And I think people are kind of, when they see that softer edge of me, they're like, I would have never thought that you would be an oil painter. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's,
Hmm.
it's the well-rounded side of me. So I think it's both sides. Like when I was a diplomat, and they're like, "Oh, what did you do in the army?" I'm like, "Oh, I kicked bombs for a living." They're like, "Jesus, what?" Like, and then they see my tattoos. I get out of my suit, and they're like, "Oh, God, now I get it. Okay, it all makes sense now." So,
Right, right,
um,
right.
yeah, but I
Well, the
think
bigger
I think
question
that's it.
is, do you have all your fingers? If you have all your fingers, you were good at your job in the military, so they trained you
I
well.
do.
I'm glad to see you
I,
came back. So
exactly.
we've had such an experience this evening, and again, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your time. I have learned a lot. But how can people find out more? Do you have a website going on? Obviously we have TikTok here. Do you have a store built? Do we, talk about your merch? What do you have on the highlights? What do you have coming up? What is going on? How do people find you? How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was a great conversation. I appreciate you guys so much for having me on. And so I do have a link tree that has all of my socials on it. I'm on all of them. YouTube. Facebook, Instagram. The only one I don't have is X. That's not one I want to manage right now. Um, Through that link tree, you can also find a Google form to request battles and things like that, and I'll throw it on the calendar, and I'll throw shout outs and all those types of things. So
Wonderful.
that's the best way to find me and everything that I do. The merch is tagged through the TikTok shop, but you can also send me a DM. I do hats through the DMs and everything. So I'm working on expanding that and putting it all into one place. But again, it's early days. So, but just communicate with me, find me, reach out. I will. As long as you don't look like spam, I will definitely reach out. I'll do my best to answer you. Talk. The best way to do it is leave a comment on one of my videos or join a live, and I will absolutely engage back, and we'll go from there.
Do you have a specific time when you go live? Do you post videos prior to that? Do you have a schedule set up? How do we know when you go live?
Another great question. So I try to throw it in my story and say, "Hey guys, I'm going to be live at this time." I have an international following now, so it's hard to
You're global
find
now.
this.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's it's hard to find the Goldilocks spot there, but I tend to do it in the evening Pacific time,
Okay.
which is generally kind of late Eastern time. But I have a lot of good followers Eastern that are sitting there doom scrolling at 11 p.m. and then they find me.
Yeah.
Uh, and then as the world is waking up in Africa and other places, they jump in as well. So that's
Wonderful.
evening Pacific time. I will throw it on the story, and that's how you'll know.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Well, very good. Daddy History, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
It has
thank you
been
for
truly
everything.
a pleasure. And
It's
we
been a
will
pleasure.
definitely be seeing more great things come from you. Wonderful stories. We'll definitely be having you back. And
Absolutely.
I'll be placing my order for my Nerds hat very shortly, and I'll be waiting for the hoodie.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for the time.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
the invite, and
Wonderful.
I look forward to continue working alongside you guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks for spending time with us today. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to follow our podcast and share it with your friends. Got thoughts or questions? Go to behindthelive.com where you can join our Discord or submit questions for other creators. We'd love to hear from you. Also, connect with us on social media. Search Behind the Live or our parent company, Elite Vault Agency. Until next time, keep creating, exploring, and we'll see you behind the live.